All right, this is a test. I just got to figure out. I'm just using a phone right now, and I'm gonna see if maybe just using the phone is gonna work. Um, but I'm gonna be doing a comedy show, and it's gonna be either in my shop or somewhere else. I don't know. I've done things like stand up before in little places. I'm a big fan of stand up, and I have since I was a kid. So now I want to do my own stand up show because most of the time I used to do the stand up stuff was I was always loaded. So now I have it's just me. I don't have. I mean, it's just a there's no alcohol, no drugs. The only thing that I have would be my my psychiatric drugs from the VA, and that's there's 2 or 3 of them that I take that keep that help with a lot of my psychiatric issues, which a lot of people have. But I happen to have some things from the military and some things that I already had before I went in the military. So I have, and some things that made things worse. But that's what happens with a lot of people who go into the military. They do have some psychiatric issues, and then they go in, and they definitely show up, and you might not even know that you had them before. So that's what happened with me with a lot of things. I was always sort of cluster A personality disorder, but that's not a problem. Everybody goes. So many people go in the military, and they are cluster A, and quite common. Cluster B and C, maybe not so much B, but maybe like a cluster A and cluster C is military people, depending on what you're doing. And so they go in and then something happens. Either you're in. You don't necessarily have to be in combat or anything. I was never in any kind of direct combat, but I was, I had jobs to do that involved combat. But with what I did, with the voice interceptor, I was a voice interceptor for Arabic language, and then I went to Special Forces. I was in for probably 7 years before I even went to SF. I'm thinking maybe not quite that long. Maybe it was like 6, 7 years. I don't remember. Before I went, I got approached by the Special Forces. They're not really a recruiter. They're more like a sponsor. And so I got approached by them. And then, because they needed some language people, plus I was somewhat interested in it. I was a new guy who just got back from SFAS. So I went and trained for a year and then went to SFAS, and I got a foot injury where my foot swelled up and I broke a few of the little bones. And then I got and then the tendon, the plantar fascia. So it's my foot swelled up like a football. And then I went, but I kept going. They let you do that. So I took all the laces out of my boot and then went, and then stuck my foot in there, and as best as I could. And the thing about that SFAS, at least it was back then, in 1998 when I went, they let you keep going. There was guys who had some injuries that were significant injuries, but you go see the medic guy there, and he gave me Motrin to cut down on the swelling the night before the next day. So I went and I did that, and then I slept with my boot on, and then all I did was I got up and went. I slept out with clothes, everything on, so that I didn't have to mess around with that. So, and it was really, I think if everybody was like me and hobbling along, I probably would have been okay. It was the last day of that SFAS, and then Well, not the last day. The next, if you make it through that 20th day, then you're in. That's what I was told. And then after that, the 21st day, it's just a 25-mile road march. That's it. And you probably don't even really have to finish it. That's what I heard. They say if you keep going, they take you out of there, hey, and then they go next couple of days to celebrate. So anyway, I wasn't able to get that far. But I got all the way to the fucking 20th day with that foot. And then the foot, I couldn't keep up with everybody. And we're carrying big jugs of 5-gallon, this water. And plus your rucksack is about 90 pounds. Can't go under, it's 70 pounds. This other thing I did was 90 pounds, but it wasn't it was like, that's what it was. It was just, everybody was a 5-man team, and everybody had, it was about 90 pounds for everybody. But they had to lug. But this one was 70 pounds, and if they would check and see if you had made it lighter. That, and then we kept on going. And then everybody was getting excited because it was the last day and we started running. And then some other people said, hey, no, we don't need to run. But I was moving along pretty slow because I just couldn't move my foot. And when you could barely walk on it, let alone run. So that the whole thing had haunted me for so long. But then the thing about that was I started having out-of-body experiences while I was there. And I don't believe in that it's a mysterious thing. I think it's just your brain and making sense of what's the surroundings and your body. We have incredible bodies and brains. We humans do. And then, on top of it, out of our body and mind comes our body and brain comes the stupid-ass mind. The mind does weird things to yourself and everybody else. But that's what we are. That's what we're like, as humans. No other hominin probably had a brain like us, like Homo erectus, Homo habilis, ergaster, maybe not even Neanderthal. Maybe they did, but there's a lot of problems, and sometimes you think that they're a mistake, but there could be also a part of evolution. That's where so many people will end up with mind problems, mental illnesses. Within a society or group of people, and then they go and they probably guide society, because evolution is all about, it's not about magic, and it's not about people, humans becoming something. It's not about humans becoming. We're not becoming anything unless you believe in some kind of religion or something, but humans, everything so far that we know, all the species, and humans are no different, is that we follow these laws and of nature, including biology, which also evolution is in there. And then I thought I heard something. I don't know. Maybe I have auditory hallucinations. So the biology and the basically biology and you don't even have to use the word evolution, just use this biology, laws of biology. It wants to adapt to things, the environment and surroundings, and then so the mind is really weird because you almost think that it's trying to adapt. The reason why we have mental illnesses, other than damage and stuff like that, physical damage, but emotional and trauma. From a little kid up, it probably informs the alleles and genes and all that stuff for the future of species. And because that's what it is. It's just things adapting to change. And once one thing starts, then the evolution gets a little more wacky. And that's how we end up with these fucking people everywhere. Goddamn people all over the fucking planet. I'm one of them. But and then but anyway, this has turned in. How long is this now? I was trying to use this as a test to see what how I would do my comedy show. but maybe it already is started. So I'll have a backdrop here, and maybe, yeah, probably I could probably stand right here and do a comedy show, and then people can be in here, sitting around, and in the garage, a garage comedy show. That way, if I get famous from doing this, I could say he was a comedian, got started in a garage. Like the the electronics companies and businesses and even bands. Of course, garage band. Why not a garage? A 52-year-old man, comedy, become something. So, well, that's what I was gonna do. So let me see if I could test this somehow. I didn't practice any of my script or anything. I didn't really have a script, but I do have a lot of jokes and a lot of things, a lot of weird, funny things to do during a whole show. I could fill up a whole hour. The problem is I'm not going to remember all the things, so I'd have to be looking. Like I went to a place one time, a comedy. No, it was a UCB theater, I think. And well, if you go to the you'll see this enough. If you go to the UCB theater in L.A. or the one in New York, there might be one in Chicago. I don't know, but there are comedy places like that, where people can sign up and do the thing, for a you learn about comedy with real people. And there was some guy that was from The Whitest Kids You Know when I was there at the one in L.A. I think it was The Whitest Kids You Know, or Birthday Boys, probably Birthday Boys. So they help out with this crap, and then and at the end they say, hey, comedy tonight, Thursday night, 7 to 9, or whatever at the time it was, and then. But anytime I see that, I do see, and then they're also established comedians who are maybe not super famous yet, but they go there and try things out and help. They try to, and sometimes they have the list of all the things, and they're like, of course they make it known that I'm trying these things out. Here's some new comedy that I'm gonna try out, and then they show that these things, and then they talk about it, and they are pretty good actually. It's kind of interesting how they would do it. Make it was so funny to me. And I used to I'd go after if they were outside hanging around, or after everything's all over. I'd tell them, yeah, it's pretty funny. I like it. Even with nobody else was laughing, I was like, that, the way you did this is, I like it. I appreciate that. And, but that's just me. So that's like a comedian to, what do you put? Art house. My brain thought of it. Art house. And so a lot of things are art house. And other things that I'm interested, the things I come up with a lot of times are art house. And I've been thinking, the thing about me though is like maybe I've only done some stand up at some weird places and not really a thing. It wasn't really even. Sometimes it wasn't even supposed to be a stand up there, and I went up and and did. I went up there and started to do a stand-up up there with people, and because they had a stage and everything, why not? And I think my mustache is getting this. I like to keep it trimmed right here. Cause I do. Makes it look like I'm an old man with no teeth. But and then Zach Galifianakis has a good. I always have had a good comedic laugh with no when you don't show expression. I used to do that a lot with my daughter's friends. So they would come over, and then they would ask me to do that. I guess I'm not going to do it right now. But you just laugh with there's nothing there. It's like a. Let me see. Maybe I will. Like that. There's different versions of that. That's not the only one. So, I used to turn red in the Bahamas for these kids, and when I used to live in the Bahamas in third grade, Bahamas, and when I was at Catholic school there. I didn't go to Catholic school all the time, just there when I was in the Bahamas, and they had nuns and everything, and I was smacking everybody. But I was the only white kid there, in the whole school. There was a girl, she was Indian. She was, from India. With the family had um, the full blown Hindu. Um, Probably I think northern India, but I'm not sure. Might not have been northern India. She had darker skin, and she's a very beautiful girl and very quiet. And I think her parents had they had the Bindu thing and everything. She didn't. Um, so she, but we had a little bit of a camaraderie because we were the only ones that weren't black in the whole school, and but I really loved that, and so being there with those people. Had a couple of good friends, so I bet if I go back to the island now, which I would love to do, a lot of those people are still alive, and I would see them. They're probably old. I mean, they're some of them are right about my age, some a little more. George and there's a few. There's a couple others that I used to hang out around with much more. And then I went and so somehow I turned red. I had held my breath and turned red just as a comedic thing and plus an interesting thing to do to make friends and feel comfortable socially. And so I did that. And then they said, "Whoa, your face turned red," because their skin, their as if they do that, it's not going to show up on their skin. You see, so pigment and all that. So I did that, and then they said, "Oh," and then people used to come for like several days. They were coming and asking. And I got so tired of it after a while, but I didn't think it was even then. At 8 years old, I used to think that this probably isn't very healthy for me to do. Is that I keep doing that because you hold your breath, and I think I did it because I used to hold my breath to go in the water, and I did it one time to maybe say, "Hey, let's go to the beach later," and go, go swimming and go in the water. And then they were just fascinated by all that. Got so bad that I said, "All right, if you guys," I said, I thought maybe they were going to stop doing it. I says, "Give me a quarter. I'll give me a quarter. I'll do that." And because not everybody had quarter to go flying, or they'd rather buy a turkey neck or something the guy sold at his truck, 25 cents turkey necks. Then I did. So then they still coming anyway, and I got quarters. Bring home a pocket full of quarters, and but yeah, I used to have to pay the nun if people were late. I was never late, so I never had to do this. Pay the nun on the way. She had a ruler. Yep. Either pay her 25 cents or you go. Psh. And one time somebody was late. Said, "Hey man, can you give me I'll give them a quarter, because they're late. They didn't want their hands smacked." Then I guess this is a little amusing. These are fun stories. I have a lot of stories. But the whole point of this was that I'm not a stand-up amuser, am I? Maybe a stand-up. These things are supposed to be amusing, maybe a little bit, maybe some. But then you want to laugh, and so I haven't. This isn't this but I think I'm just testing out. Here it is, testing out this thing, and then just to see what it looked like on here, because I think might be where I put on a little show. And then, "Hey fucker! Hey! Fuck you doing? Hey! Get out of here!" Just a mannequin. Just a mannequin. But there was one time when I did a show and there was a room full of people, and then people were laughing, and I think I was doing pretty good. And the guy after, some of the people after said, "Hey, you nailed it," or whatever. So I was completely, they took the blood alcohol level, the level of alcohol in my blood was probably double what killed John Bonham. And so so then I was talking like it was like this, and then I had the microphone. I was just doing this little stool, and then I was and this guy had gotten this guy he was like trying to be really quiet. He was like standing up in his chair, and he was over there, and he gets up and he starts walking to the. I think because he didn't want to be out of respect, he didn't want to just be, but he had to go somewhere. And so, because it was like a place where people would be in and out, as a comedy open mic or something like that. I don't even remember what the hell it was. Then he did. So he got up and was going, and the door was over here. And I was just talking and doing my thing, and I went over and I was like, "Well, where are you going?" And then and he was like, "I'm just gotta," and he got a but for some reason, that whole scene just not erupted. It elicited a fairly good amount of laughs. Just doing that. Probably, of course, much more than this, but I didn't say, "Hey, fucker." There with the in that place, I got up there 2 or 3 times, and then the guy that was turning around says, "Well, we don't have. If you want to go up there one more time, go ahead," because I guess they liked it. But to be honest with you, I really don't remember much of that. A little bits and pieces. My wife was there, and she remembers some of the stuff, and she thought it was pretty good. And for other people to come up to me later throughout the weeks and say, "Hey, man, that was a really good show you did," and like, I don't know what the hell. I was very drunk, but I had a high tolerance, and also I might have had some psychosis, a little bit of psychosis going on, because I get psychosis, and I was an alcoholic for several years. I didn't start drinking until 26. When I was in the Army, I got back from the Special Forces assessment. I think I was talking about that earlier. Things were happening there with my brain while I was there because it was very intense. I started having depersonalization and out-of-body experiences, and I was telling somebody about that, and says, "Well, I did too, but I'm not nuts like you," because most everybody would, because of such intensity of that thing. It's natural for people soldiers and other people that are going through intense training, to start to have some form of depersonalization, and also in combat they do, in very stressful situations. But the thing about those though, they typically only last. Like combat, you could be going on and on, but most of the time, of course, it does happen a lot. As you're in combat, like day in day out for a very long time. Or for 3 weeks, probably maybe. But you get some sleep and everything, and you might have to camp out in a building, and then maybe 3 weeks or a month or something like that somewhere. But it's not the same as having to do something for 3 weeks as intense as the Special Forces training, and it's because you don't get sleep much, very little. You get enough to eat, but if you didn't, the thing about that is that if you didn't get anything to eat, you'd be dead right away because your body depletes that so fast. And then, you wouldn't. But even though we ate 3 meals during that whole thing, I had muscles, and I was good shape, and I wasn't skinny. But by the time I got done with that, just in 3 weeks, I was a thin person. And a lot of the guys looked like they were coming out of a concentration camp. These pictures of the people standing with the concentration camp, those terrible pictures, of people, sad situations where they were rescued from the concentration camps back then. Well, we kind of looked like that, because maybe not that thin, because people start out and then, but then the neat thing about muscles, it comes back faster, and so they I don't remember what I was talking about. This is where I would probably want my notes to carry around. But I also don't want to do notes. Harlan Williams one time, he has a thing where he made a whole, like, a hour-long show of him just doing stand-up out in the middle of nowhere, like a desert or something. Doing comedy in the middle of nowhere. I don't remember what that was called. Harlan Williams, very funny. One of my favorite guys, comedians. But I don't know what. I can't think of things, so I'm trying to think of it now. Otherwise, I would just jump to start talking about something else. But and you probably wouldn't necessarily know, other than I'm just being tangential all the time with my speech, talking. But and also I'm kind of a little distracted because my wife's mom was stung by some wasps today, and then so I told her she would need to go to somebody needs to call an ambulance right now, because she's already allergic, and she said she got stung by like maybe 24 wasps or more, and ground wasps. And she needs to. She's 71 and can't be messing around with that anymore. And so my wife did end up calling the ambulance, but I think things are going to be, once they check, is okay. But I was, just like me, I would send little humorous things and texts and whatever. Try not to be too inappropriate for the situation, because it could be deadly, So then I said, after things were getting her going and everything's okay and she's up there, I sent a text to my wife. I said, what happens? I know, okay, she's gonna get some help here. Has anyone checked in on the wasps? And they probably are needing the hospital just as much as she is, or she goes to the hospital. She's going to the hospital just as much as she needs to be there. Them, how? And so that actually, how I was just talking is more like, I've been trying too hard to sound, normal this past, few minutes. So I guess I know I could do it for movie roles and stuff, but I had the one movie role I did pretty damn good. It was about the werewolves in Vermont. So it was my roles in that movie. My scenes are good, and even though that nobody's going to watch that movie, I don't even think people who I know, or people you would send, say, hey, I would like to see that movie. Where do you see it? So you can see it, get it on Amazon or something. I don't know where it is. It's from the guy who made it, or there's a couple of these, but one of the main guy behind it was the guy who did that that documentary down in Florida of the guys with the tigers, Tiger King guy. So he was not the guy from the show Tiger King. He's not the one that did the show. This guy did a documentary about the Tiger King guy and all that crazy stuff back before all that show stuff, and back before nobody knew him. So this is the same guy that I did this other movie with, and it was supposed to be like a documentary, or it's a documentary about real events. So got to make that clear. It is a documentary, and all the things were real, and there might be some reenactments in there, but I mean that's the angle of the, because I haven't talked with him or others, but you know what? I don't care because nobody's fucking watched that movie. I'm not walking down the street and people, hey, they're like, hey, you're that fucker who was in that movie. I liked it. I liked that fucking movie. But nobody's done that yet. Just walking around town, doing whatever, anywhere. Maybe in some country I'm famous there for that. And then, but I did pretty good in that movie. I wasn't a werewolf or anything. It was about dogmen, and he has other ones about the same thing, but this one was played local man. I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed it. I wish I could do more of that. Like some kind of character actor. I sure would like that. It'd be fun. But we're working on some things. My daughter is working on work. I give her all these some ideas, and then some of these films that I come up with, these little short films and everything, and she might get an idea, and I might actually make one, but I don't know. Then I got the idea. Let's make them package them into a show, like a dark stories show or something, and have a host, a wacky host or an interesting host. So that's probably what we're gonna do. We'll have fun doing that. But then, who's gonna watch it? I like it. You can put it on YouTube, and then I like that you can tell where people are from when they're watching it. And then, say it's all everything is in Timbuktu or something like that, and then, or most of your viewers are in Timbuktu, and then you could get a hold of some people down there. Hey man, look, like a club or something down there, or something. I don't know, whatever the hell. It's like, hey, I'll go down there and we do a show, or you can make some stuff with you guys too. I think that would be so much fun. Not even about the making money or being too famous. It's just just fun. Some fun thing to do with your life. Even if it doesn't go anywhere after you die, it's just done. That we know of. It would be non-falsifiable. With science, anybody knows what that means. It's like it's not possible anytime to verify that this is true or not in science. Existence of afterlife, existence of God or gods, and all kinds of things are just absolutely not. And then there's some other ones that are falsifiable, but we just don't know until we have a better idea of how to find out these things, like going out into space and stuff further, which is also kind of a weird thing. Like, how humans are going to terribly fuck everything up no matter what they do. So imagine they're going to go to the moon. I'd rather them try to go to Mars, because I like the moon. I like when the moon is up there. I like the fact that the moon hasn't been too much touched with. I have a nice relationship with the moon. But but we haven't. People think that humans have been into space. I don't count the space station as space or the moon. Space to me is like, ultimately space is out of our solar system, but you can all accept that within our solar system is space. So we really have not been very far into space. We haven't even got this a stupid ass space station. That's not space. It's just a thing. You can see it right up there at night. The moon, you can see it. I'm talking like fucking go out there, man. Just turn, and even if you just turn or go out, you don't have to make all these big plans to go to Mars with manned everything. They're jumping it too much. Just go and maybe just take a little ride out there. Just go get in your little spacecraft and go out. Part way to the moon. maybe like a week's trip or a month even, and then come back. Instead of this, it's just, why does it seem like it's such an all or nothing thing with this? We have never, no humans have ever been anywhere into space further than the moon. And I'd like to see that. I want to see that first. I don't know why the hell they wouldn't do that. It's really bizarre. They don't have to go past the Oort cloud. No, I'm talking about just fly the spacecraft partway to Mars and then back. Maybe even eventually go around Mars, but that's not possible right now. That's a long way. It takes about 6 months to get there, so they would do that and then go beyond the Mars or on. But right now, we just need to send somebody out past the moon for a little ways. And I bet everybody's waiting because they know that I do long. Like, it takes me a couple minutes, 2-3 minutes sometimes to do a joke. And then some people say, "Oh, that's just like Norm Macdonald does that." So you remind me of Norm Macdonald. But I mean, his is a little different. But I see where people, I see like the turtle joke in a bar. That's one of my favorite ones. And then because it takes so long to tell, and in the end, it's really not that super funny. The punchline, and and then anti-comedy is better, but I do like it. Like when my uncle does it, it's better. It's funnier. Then they have different methods and things that people do, and I should probably have brought some water out. Sometimes they have water. They have they have water out for the stand-up, and then again, things for those of you who are just joining us, or just skip through the all the stuff, and then it's like, oh, what's that? Now that I'm doing my hands like this, this is not the actual comedy show. I'm setting it up. I'm testing it. I mean, there might be some funny things in it, but it might be worth watching to somebody. It's for shut-ins and invalids. The people who sit around, watch videos, long ones. All those very good people on the planet. Wonderful people. I just recently, it's been about, this is a couple weeks now, I was in a lockdown psychiatric ward. And there was a guy there, he had been there a few times, an old gentleman. I talked to him quite a bit. Wasn't anything to do because they took everything from you, with cell phones, everything. There was a little TV. But anyway, this old man I was talking about, he'd been in Vietnam. He was in Vietnam. I heard a lot of stories from a lot of guys they were in Vietnam. And so they a lot of interesting stories. And then there were some of the other ones that were younger. They were younger than me. And then I had some interesting stories too, about my experiences. And then some of the other guys did too, but they didn't really talk. The younger guys, I don't know who knows. I don't know what. Like these other guys were talking a lot about this stuff, and a lot of detail. And this one guy in particular, I was sitting with and talking with a lot because he liked to talk. He was in Vietnam, then he was a banker, and then he was some other things he did. And then anyway, he said that there was a fire in one of these it wasn't a lockdown place. It wasn't a hospital that these guys. It was like a place where veterans lived, and could pay a little bit of whatever it was. And then, so the place burned down. And then they have scrambled to find housing for these guys. And then once they found it, there was just a couple of guys left that didn't have any, and so they had them come to the VA hospital in White River here, then they would. So they went in, and then they weren't supposed to be going into the kind of place. This is for people who had something happen, and like me, I had some psychosis. I was homicidal and had psychosis. Most of the people that go in there, they have, they're usually on drugs or coming down from drugs or alcohol. Nearly all of them are. And so, but I wasn't, and there was a couple other people that weren't. They were just, they're just, something happened. And because I don't need to be on drugs or alcohol to end up doing wacky things anymore. I did. Just alcohol, no drugs. I didn't do drugs. Then, so they, so they put these guys in there, and they took their, like everybody else, they did everything for, like, took their cell phones away, took their belts away, or put them in a gown, and then, and then they went into the sitting in. And two guys were like, "What the hell's going on here?" Like, and they asked this guy that I was talking with, the older guy. It's like, "What kind of a fucking place is this?" And he says, the guy says, "You're in a lockdown psychiatric ward." And then, and the guy says, like, "Get me out of here!" And they're like running around trying to. Slamming their fists on the counter by the window. It's like, "This isn't why we're a fucking place burned down. We're not crazy. What are you, crazy?" I told the guy that, I said, "This is actually the first story he told me." And I said, I didn't know what kind of humor or whatever he had. So that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny to me. And he says, yeah. He kind of leaned down like this all the time. "Yeah, it's funny to me too." And that opened up our relationship there for a couple of days with this guy. So all the stories that he told, and he was a banker, and he knew all about it. I learned a lot of things from that guy, as a banker. He was an old banker, and he told me about properties and mortgages and stuff like that. And it was 70s, early 70s, like all the Vietnam guys are now. There's another funny guy in there where he had like some kind of weird left eye. It was all glass, and he was a big guy, and he was somewhat overweight. And he came in, he had like a long straight hair. He almost looked like, the Crypt Keeper from that show. Scary Story. What was that show called? There was a Crypt. It was like a guy from the host was like a skeleton guy. He almost looked like that guy before he died. Like like maybe like how that guy looked, how the Crypt Keeper looked when he was a person still alive. Anyway, and I was sitting in a chair, and he was sitting here eating, because his round tables, and I was sitting there talking to that other guy, and he says, I was telling him about how in the past we were both, he was a Catholic and I was a Episcopal Church, right? So they're similar. And except for the popes and all that. And then we were talking about that, and I said, "Yeah," and I was a altar boy too, And then this guy, for some reason, his head, the way his head, I'm looking at this guy somehow, like the way the tables were, like his head would come back like this, and his head leaned back like this, and he looked at him, his face was like right here. And he has that glass. It was like some kind of very bright blue eye. I don't think it was his eye though. He had a pockmarked face, his face was all pockmarked. And he went back and he said, let me see if I can get the angle. He looked back and he says, "Who's the father?" And he went back and said, "What? What did you say?" And I looked at the other guy like, "Who did you say?" And the other guy was like, "I don't know what he said." Then he leans back and, "Who's the father?" I'm like, "What the fuck is he talking?" I couldn't figure out what the hell he was talking about. I said, "Well, maybe because if it was like who is father, who was father, same apostrophe s thing, could be was is, who is, who was. Well, actually, no, you'd say, I don't think there's ever do apostrophe for who was. I think it's who is the only apostrophe. But he said, who's the father? And then I just said, well, his name was Gus Tuttle. That was the name of the guy. That was the father there. And he seemed to be satisfied with that, and he just went back to whatever he was doing, eating. And and there was another guy that tried to come up. I injected himself with bacteria somehow. I don't know what the hell that would be. Sometimes when people, you hear what they do to try to kill themselves, and they come into places, whatever, it almost seems like they don't really want to kill themselves. But I don't know. Because I'd probably do that. I'd probably get on a train and go out west and get off in the desert and just keep walking and walking and walking until I found some rattlesnakes in a pit, and then I would just lie down in within the rattlesnakes until they would start squirming and going around over me, and then maybe I would get bit, and then I would stay there. It'd probably be painful. Then I would also bring some kind of pain medication for me, and then but then if they started slithering around, like up here on my face, all around, not biting me, and then they went up, and one of them came up and looked at me right there, or actually like this. One snake was leaned up when I was trying to talk to one snake, and the other one started to come over there and lean up. And he would say, bet you think I have a joke already for this. I'm just thinking about this now, but they do come to me. Jokes come right out of this stuff. Sometimes I just build it up myself, and then the punchline comes after. But so one of them I just thought of just now was the snake would be saying, this one would have to ask a question, because it was like that other guy, because I would say the other story, and then I would say the snark thing, and then this was alliteration, then or foreshadowing. So anyway, it would be like this, and then and he would say, and then this, of course, if there was an audience in here, I would ask all around, hey, you what was he gonna say? You know what I'm saying? And then pop, you might be. I'm not surprised, but people say that thing, you will be surprised. But it's funny how that guy said that one time, or he said that you'll be surprised if I just go ahead and do this and that, and you'd be surprised. And it was something that was so mundane and obvious. It was just like, what am I going to be surprised about? And then the guy would have to clarify. Well, you're gonna see the people are going to answer. Well, that's not surprising. I wouldn't be surprised at that. You might be surprised, but not me. When it comes to something like that, then that's another joke I just thought of. So sometimes it's okay to just do something and start talking, and you end up with some stuff that's funny. Here it is. Goodness, it's almost been an hour. It's 50 minutes. Well, I could stop it now and then just fill in commercials. And but this is without any of my stuff, any of my material. I could just think about it. Write all my things down. Ask people around, like, hey, do you remember any jokes? What remember? Because a lot of people remember these jokes that I say, or the ones that I came up with. I don't remember them, but they do. They might remember them for years. I say, do you remember? What do you remember? Do you remember any kind of funny things I said or do? And they're like, oh yeah. Well, I'll write them down. And then I would work on it. I would read them over and over again, so that they're fresh, and then they can come out. And there's so much of that material that would be possible, but I wouldn't really need to remember A lot of them might not make it through the whole thing, but because I might not remember them, or they might things shift too much, and I do too many other things, weird things like anti-comedy, and depends on what I want to do for a comedy. Because the way what I'm doing is talking right now, getting ready for it, is the way I'm talking here. It is something like how I am normally, but not 100%. If I was more like talking like more like what I am, even though I don't sound, it isn't all that great. I'm not exactly like this all the time. I'm thinking too carefully about what I'm saying. That's probably one thing that would be different. Because sometimes when I'm talking with people, my speech is different, and it comes out all kinds of weird ways quite often. But I got a lot of tools that they're on their way. I have a little table saw coming today. I got an electric chainsaw. I got a jointer, and so they're going into the shop, which is right down there. Yeah, a lot of things came today for this. I'm putting this shop back together, and I could just do, of course, do comedy shows in the shop, which would be fun, because I'm not necessarily like the stereotypical or average woodworker. You know, that knows. I do know a lot about woodworking, but it's because I've been doing it on my own for here so long and making things that I want to make, and you know, I'm an odd person. Even if people don't think I'm odd, if they think, no, he's like normal, whatever. But until I give them my nap sheet of all of my things that make it so I need to take a nap. Except when I'm manic, I don't take naps. I have a lot of weird things with my mind and brain, but it's managed a little bit with meds. The psychosis, the depersonalization, the hallucinations, sound, bipolar, mania and depression, bipolar. Not schizophrenia necessarily, but schizotypal, which is not, it's a personality, it's a cluster A disorder. All these things fit. Might seem like I'm a normal guy. Maybe, I don't know. But I do have a lot of issues, mental issues, mental illnesses. It's not really mental health. Like when I hear mental health, I'm going, he's having a mental health crisis. Well, maybe he does. Maybe he is having a mental health crisis, but he's probably not diagnosed with things. It's just something's happened. You know, like 2 or 3 things happen to somebody who's whatever normal, they're gonna have some problems, and then they might discover that they do have some. But it takes a long time for people to, psychiatrists and psychologists to figure out what a person needs or what's going on. Paranoia. This whole time I've been talking. I thought I was only going to be doing this for a couple minutes, just to test the thing. But I ended up talking a little bit more. I thought that before now, because sometimes when people send messages, they'll do it while you're on my phone. At least it'll record, and then people will be you know. Let's see if it's over here and there. Put a backdrop here. I'm going that way right here. I can put the backdrop there. And then, so when people might send a text or call, it shows up on the screen and it rings and everything, and it interrupts your video. But maybe it's doing this. Maybe there has been, but it's just that they haven't done that. All right, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this video other than watch it myself. Anybody that's seen it, don't let this be any indicator that this is what my show is gonna be like. So I'll end with a funny. Let me see if I could do it. I don't know. Sometimes I think that I would do this in a show. I don't want to take things from other people, but it's kind of like a common thing, I guess. But I don't know. But anyway, here's a Turkman. His name Turk. I can't think of his first name. He's like with Tim Heidecker, and you know that he does those things with people. He does here just to see. Let's see what it would be like if I had a microphone right here. Why? Wait, maybe I should do it in my own way instead of the way he did it. Okay. Why the fuck did E.T., the motherfucking terrestrial, love Reese's Pieces so goddamn much? Well, because it has the same flavor as jizz does on his home planet. Everybody laughed. Somebody walking out. Hey, where you going? Then, I guess that's it. I gotta try not to pick my nose while I'm up there too. This whole thing's. I wonder what I could do to prevent me from picking my nose the whole time up there. Might as well go a full hour. It says 57:30. I wonder if my table saw came. My UPS. I got one thing already from UPS, so but it said all these things are coming, so that must mean that they're gonna come back around later and bring it. I have these around, but this is a chicken foot for one of my chickens. The one that's probably the one of the Brahma hens with a feather on the feet. But I make wands, and then I put the these on the end. Not just this feather kind, but other kinds. And sometimes a head. And I have a head. One of the heads. Whenever they die, or they don't live super long, but they'll die after a while. It's like people. And then, yeah, let's hope that when I do my comedy show, that I will be able to do good. Have people laugh. That's what I like. I like people laughing. Usually at themselves. But I'm going to. I do like it when people laugh at themselves. And But I guess I'll be laughing at myself. And then also, um, uh, I just picture. I never get nervous at these things. I just blob away or talk. But if I did, because years ago I learned that um, you just look out. Somebody tell me that the old saying that if you think you're gonna get nervous just in front of talking to people, you just imagine them naked. And so it's like, oh, okay, that works pretty good. Just imagine everybody naked and just sitting out there. But I said, no, that doesn't work. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see people naked. And so I decided, no, I'm gonna imagine myself naked. And then that makes it easier. Makes it easier for me. But I hopefully when this show comes out, I just found this right there. I'm gonna nail it.